One more organization I would like to mention is the National Front. Vladas Terleckas, Stasys Stumbrys are the actors who played a significant anti-Soviet resistance role. Of course, there were armed resistance groups in Lithuania as well. For instance, Lithuanian Positivists Forum in 1963. The organization had unrealistic military plans. For instance, the organization was seeking to collect as many as 4,000 members and to give each member a shooting gun. They expected to control radio, television, to declare the start of the revolution and so on and so forth. However, the ideas they were cherishing were quite simple. First, to show the essence of communism, denying freedoms and rights. And the third group of organizations I would like to mention was the Organization of Religious Youth. And the organization formed in Panevėžys in 1953, called Freedom Fighters, was the most known one and the most powerful one. It included young people, Catholic believers, and whatever was the direction or main idea of the organization, each of these organizations used to focus on the slogan, Free Lithuania. And the main feature of non-armed resistance in Lithuania was that in the first place, the focus is on Free Lithuania, and then other goals follow. Coming back to freedom fighters organizations, it was namely this organization who used to state it was necessary to raise believers, young believers, trying to relate God and the nation. Another organization set up in 1916, Kaunas, was referred to as religious nationalistic group. And all this young resistance actually emerged as a reform movement, faith reform movement, in 1969 that was quite active in arranging various trips. And all these organizations were engaged in the kind of activity that could be put into several directions. Collection and publication of appeals. In 1955, security authorities were looking for 363 appeal authors. The biggest number of publicized, disseminated appeals was registered in 1976, when 3,500 appeals were disseminated. Very often, these organizations were using Lithuanian national symbols, flags, and especially they were active on the 16th of February, on the day when Lithuania proclaimed its independence in 1918. In 1970, on the chimney of Klaipėda factory, the highest flag was raised. The highest flag in the Soviet era was raised. At the same time, massive opposition and resistance of youngsters was going on. In 1956, during All Saints' Day, demonstrations in all the cemeteries, including Rasų cemetery and at the monument to Darius and Girėnas in Kaunas, were organized. It's very interesting to note that at the same time, the slogans "Freedom to Hungary" were also chanted, which shows that Lithuania was trying to support other nations fighting for independence. Again, one aspect I would like to note is self-burning of Kalanta in Kaunas in 1956. As many as 402 people were arrested. It turned out that 48% of them were young workers, 30% students, 97 of them were Komsomol members, which meant that being a Komsomol member did not automatically mean that he or she is against independence of Lithuania. In other words, Komsomol in this period lost its meaning, which it had soon after the end of the Second World War. Speaking about the internal liberation, I would like to raise the question, when did Lithuanian youth become more independent or felt more independent? At the Faculty of History and Philology, in October 1956, there was a Komsomol meeting. And what I would like to stress is that this was the meeting of Komsomol activists, and the minutes were taken at that meeting, meaning that everyone was aware that he or she will be recorded. There was an announcement on the radio that a certain number of people used to listen to BBC radio, which means that people felt themselves free to listen to the European radio. Another question, why do Russians occupy certain positions without learning Lithuanian and unwilling to learn the Lithuanian language? That happened in 1956, which probably points to a certain breakthrough in the thinking of people of that time and changes in young people's mentality. What I would like to quote again is that probably you all know journalist Vinokur. So back in 1976, this author was detained by the then militia, and in his explanation he wrote that he didn't like culture. There is no freedom of culture. There is no freedom of gathering or assemblies. Give us that freedom. Give us the freedom to speak what we think. The freedom of music. Let the foreign hippie groups arrive in Lithuania, just like it is in Poland. If you don't give us that liberty, how can we support you? Which means that young people wanted to be free. And I'm convinced that this particular period shows that many young people were much more free than we could have thought of. I would like to give this explanation. At the top of the pyramid, we had most active young people. So, in the 90s, a torrent was developing in the midst of various organizations that used to lead young people to the independence. Thank you.